There's a photo of you at 0 and a photo of you at 100 million, and if you put them side by side, the scary part isn't how different they look. It's that, if you look closely, you can find the exact same fear hiding in both faces. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let me take you all the way up the mountain, level by level, floor by floor, because every single floor of this thing has a lie attached to it, a thing you believe on your way up that turns out not to be true. And nobody tells you about a single one of them until you're already standing on the next floor up, wondering why on earth you still feel the exact same way you felt on the last one. Let's start at the bottom. Let's start at 0. 0 is loud. That's the thing people forget the second they finally leave it behind. When you have nothing, money is screaming at you, every minute of every single day. It's the gaslight, glowing on the dashboard of a car you're quietly praying makes it to Friday. It's standing in the middle of a store with 2 things in your hands and a calculator open on your phone, doing the math to see if you can afford both, and finding out that you can't. At 0, you do not dream about yachts. That's a rich person's idea of what a poor person dreams about. At 0, you dream about breathing. You dream about one single month where nothing breaks, nobody calls asking for money you don't have, and the number in the account doesn't go red. And the lie of 0, the thing you believe down here at the bottom with your whole entire heart, is so simple. You believe that if you just had a little bit of money, all of this fear would finally, mercifully, stop. So you start climbing. And the first real climb, the brutal one, the one that breaks most people before they ever get going, is the climb from 0 to your very first $100,000. And nobody tells you this, but this is the single hardest money you will ever make in your entire life. Not the first million. Not the first 10 million. This, right here. Because at the very bottom, you have no money, and no money means you have no leverage, and no leverage means the only thing you have left to trade is your own time and your own body. 1 hour for a few dollars. Over and over and over. So you take the job, and then you take the second job. You start the little thing on the side, the one that everybody in your life quietly thinks is kind of cute. Fixing things, selling things, some little service that nobody respects yet. You work the kind of brutal hours you can only physically work when you're genuinely hungry. Hours that are honestly, looking back, a little bit unhealthy. And you save with a discipline that looks completely insane to every single person around you. You drive the car that embarrasses you in the parking lot. You drive it until the wheels are practically falling off. And slowly, painfully, dollar by dollar, that account crawls its way up towards 6 figures. And the day it finally crosses, you let out a breath you feel like you've been holding for years. And right here is where the first lie gets exposed. The fear doesn't stop. It just gets a little quieter. The gaslight stops being a full-blown crisis, sure. But the dread just quietly sets itself a new, higher bar. Now you're not scared of making it to Friday anymore. Now you're scared of losing the $100,000 that took you years of your one and only life to build. You didn't kill the fear. You just traded it in for a slightly more expensive version of itself. Welcome to the pattern. You are going to see this exact same thing on every single floor. All the way up. Now from 100,000 to your first million. And this is the floor where the entire game quietly changes. Because this is where it stops being about your hours and starts being about something else completely. And almost nobody makes this particular jump because making it requires you to do the one thing that is genuinely, deeply terrifying. You have to stop selling your time. And you have to start building something that sells itself, even when you're not in the room. That little side thing, the cute one nobody respected, you start feeding it everything you've got. You take that $100,000 you bled for, that you protected like your life depended on it, and instead of guarding it, you do the unthinkable. You risk it. You hire your first person, which feels completely insane. Paying somebody else out of money you could have just kept for yourself. You stop being the guy who does the work, and you slowly, terrifyingly become the guy who builds the machine that does the work. And it is the loneliest, most uncertain stretch of the entire climb, because you've let go of the one thing that felt safe, trading hours for dollars, and the new thing isn't proven yet. There are whole months where you've gone backwards, where the machine sputters, where everyone who loves you starts gently, carefully asking if maybe, you should just go get a normal job. But then the business catches. It starts to run just a little, without you standing over it. And one ordinary day you sit down and add it all up, and you are worth $1 million on paper. And so you buy the car. The first real one, the one that back when you were at zero was the exact car that meant you had finally made it. And you sit in that car, parked in the driveway, engine ticking as it cools, and you wait for the feeling. The arrival feeling, the big one. The one you have been chasing in your chest since that very first gaslight. And it does come, and it's real, and it lasts about a week, and then it's just your car. And that right there is the second lie. And it's the cruel one. $1 million is not the finish line you thought it was. It is barely even the starting line. Because now finally you understand the board well enough to do the real math, and the real math is brutal. $1 million invested sensibly throws off maybe $40,000 a year. And $40,000 a year is a life. It is. But it is not the life the movie sold you. And it lands on you slowly. That the number that actually buys real freedom is much, much bigger than the number you spent your whole life believing would change absolutely everything. So you grit your teeth and you keep climbing. From 1 million to 10. And 10 is where the whole thing starts to get strange. Because $10 million is the first number that is actually genuinely real freedom. And getting there changes you in ways that not one person ever bothers to warn you about. This is the jump where money finally starts making money faster than you possibly can with your own two hands. 10 million, parked sensibly, earns you $3,000, maybe $400,000 a year doing absolutely nothing. Which is more than you used to make breaking your body into pieces. Which means for the very first time in your life, the math has completely flipped. You no longer need to work. Ever. And that single fact does something to the inside of your head that you were in no way prepared for. Because your whole identity, the entire engine that dragged you all the way up here, was built on need, on hunger, on the climb itself. And now the climb is technically, suddenly over, and you genuinely do not know who you are without it. So you buy the bigger house, the one with rooms you'll never even walk into. You buy the better car, the one that turns every head on the street, the one that sounds like pure money the second you start it. You travel to the places from the magazines. You taste the genuinely, expensively good life. And it is wonderful, and you absolutely should enjoy it. But underneath all of it, there's now a quiet question sitting in your chest, one with no answer yet, and the question is this. If I don't ever have to climb again, then what exactly is all of this for? And that's the third lie, fully exposed. You always believed the money would hand you peace. And instead it handed you a question you'd been far too busy and too scared to ask yourself your entire life. And then comes the last stretch, the big one, 10 million, all the way to 100. And here's what truly nobody tells you about this final part. You barely even do it on purpose. The first 100,000, you earned that with your bare hands. The first million, you built that with your nerve, with sheer will. But the jump from 10 million to 100 million happens, mostly, while you're asleep. Because at that level, your money is no longer just money. It's an army. And the army works 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And it never gets tired, and it never asks for a raise. And you slowly stop being a worker at all, and you become something more like a general, standing over a map, moving big pieces around a board. Putting money into other people's companies, into buildings, into quiet, boring things that compound relentlessly, year after year after year. The work gets less and less physical and more about judgment, about patience, about saying no to 100 merely good things, so that you can say one clean yes to the single great one. And the number climbs, and climbs, past sums that genuinely stop feeling like money at all and start feeling like nothing more than a score in a game. Until one ordinary, unremarkable day you quietly cross $100 million. And on that day you go back and you dig up that old photo of yourself at zero, the gaslight photo, the kid in the store with the calculator. And you hold it up right next to the person you are now. And here's the thing that nobody on this earth ever tells you. The thing this entire long climb has been building toward the whole time. The fear is still there. It's just wearing a much nicer suit now. It's a different size, a different shape. At zero, you were terrified of losing $5. At 100 million, you're terrified of losing a fortune, terrified of the people around you who only ever showed up for the number, terrified of that strange flat feeling of having absolutely everything, and still, somehow, waking up restless at 3 in the morning. But make no mistake, it is the same fear. It is the exact same low hum you first heard underneath that gaslight. The same nervous animal that woke up the day you crossed your first 100 grand and never once fully went back to sleep. You spent your entire life, every ounce of your strength, believing that the number would finally silence it, and you climbed all the way to $100 million to the very top of the mountain, only to discover, standing up there, that the number was never the thing making the noise in the first place. You were. So here is what nobody tells you about going from 0 to 100 million, the real lesson. The one underneath all the cars and the houses. Every single floor of that building has the exact same view, if you never fix the window you're looking through. The person who is genuinely, truly at peace at $100 million is, almost every single time, the person who somehow learned how to be at peace much, much lower down the mountain, and then just happened to keep on climbing anyway. And the person who is quietly miserable at 100 million was already quietly miserable at 100,000, and all those extra zeros did was buy the misery a much bigger, emptier house to echo around in. And listen, the money is real. I need to be completely clear about that, because this is not one of those videos that tells you money doesn't matter. Money matters. Enormously. Going from 0 to even a little bit of money changes your entire life in ways that are absolutely not a lie. Clawing your way up out of that screaming bottom is one of the most important things you will ever do, and you should start climbing. Hard today. But somewhere along the way up, and the sooner the better, you have to do the quiet inside work that the money simply cannot do for you. Because if you don't, you will just arrive at the very top as a richer, better dressed version of the exact same frightened person who first started at the bottom. The climb from 0 to 100 million will change almost everything about your life. The houses, the cars, the freedom, the options, all of it. Completely real. It will change everything, except the one single thing you were most secretly hoping it would change. That one is an inside job. It always was. And it's the only climb that actually ends in peace, and the best part, the part that should change your whole week, is that you can start that one right now. At any number at all. Even 0. Especially 0. Because the person who's going to be waiting for you up there at 100 million is just you. With more. So you had better make absolutely sure that the person you're slowly becoming on the way up the mountain is someone you genuinely want to be. That rich,